We all remember that joyful and torturous experience of our first school dance. Well, what's that experience like if you have superpowers? Find out what happens to Alex Mack in this week's episode. Hi, how are you? It's great to see you. I'm RazMansReality with another video on the secret world of Alex Mack. This is episode 5, entitled School Dance. So if this is your first time here and film, TV, and comics is your passion, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification icon so that you don't miss anything. If you'd like to follow along with the secret world of Alex Mack with me and don't have the show on DVD yet, you can pick it up in the description box down below via my Amazon affiliate link at no extra cost to you. Also, if you have seen the episode, as always, be sure to chime in the comments section and let me know what your favorite part of this episode is. This video is also my first video with my brand new Rode NT USB microphone, so make sure you let me know what you think of the sound quality. I am absolutely blown away by it. I think it's miles better than my old Blue Yeti, and I can't wait to see just how much better it can be once I get my boom arm. This episode opens up with a fantasy sequence of Alex daydreaming about Scott asking her to the school dance, and Scott subsequently pushing girlfriend Jessica to the side, literally. And in classic romantic fantasy fashion, the girl dreams of the guy spinning her in his arms. She leans in for a kiss, only to be awoken by another boy named Jerry who has been pursuing her. And as you can see by the look on her face, she is not receptive to Jerry asking her out, because they barely know each other and she just doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Meanwhile, Ray comforts Alex here, telling her that there's absolutely no reason that either one of them have to go to the dance without a date, as they could go together. Alex says to Ray, "Come on, Ray, we've been best friends since we were like in kindergarten. That'd be like going with my brother or something." To which Ray is actually genuinely disappointed by it. He, however, doesn't show his disappointment to Alex when she turns around and asks, "You know what I mean, right?" And he says, "Yeah, sure." And then as she walks away, very sadly, "No problem." As you would imagine, Ray is very surprised and shaken up by this, and he asks his dad why Alex was so unreceptive of him asking her out. He says he didn't want to do anything to mess up their friendship, and his father tells him the harsh truth that all of us men learned years ago, or are still learning if you're growing up, that women are the most complicated creatures on the planet, and it's not worth wasting any time trying to figure out what they mean by things. Things will just happen the way they are meant to happen. Here we see that the Macks are enjoying a home movie of Barbara and George as young lovers, and the family is teasing their parents, trying to get them to come together and rekindle some of that magic. So they decide that they're going to have their first proper date night in a long time this Friday night. Meanwhile, upstairs, Alex tells Annie that she probably will not be going to the school dance. Annie scuffs and says, "So no one asked you, huh?" And Alex very matter-of-factly and nearly angrily says, "Someone asked me, just not the person I want." Annie says, "Are we back to Scott again?" Alex very frustratingly sighs. He has no idea how I feel about him. Annie says, "So just tell him. Or you could always take the coward's way out and write him a letter." Alex says, "Hey, I can handle him face to face," only to then make the decision to write the letter and get mocked with a chicken balk by her sister. When Alex brings the letter to Scott's home, she discovers that the door is open, and she peeks her head inside here and says, hello? Which leads her to go into the room of her crush and admire his stuff. We see her here playing with his baseball glove and wearing his baseball helmet, only to then have him come home. So she realizes that she has no way out of the room in time. So what does she do? Utilizes her telekinesis to safely transport Scott's goldfish into the dog's water bowl here and safely morph into the fish tank undetected. Once Scott leaves the room, she decides that it's safe to return to her normal form, decides to pick up the letter, thinking better about leaving it for him, and leaves the room, only to have to frantically run away from Scott's home as Jessica had arrived and had seen her. Scott then asks Alex the next day if she knows what Jessica is talking about her being at his house yesterday. Of course, she denies it, and then Scott just thinks that his girlfriend is being weird and crazy like she can be sometimes, so he proceeds to ask Alex if she's coming to the dance, which of course, as you can see by her face, she does not do a good job at hiding her joy about, and tries to play it cool and say, yeah, definitely, or, I might have something better to do, we'll see. And Scott's like, well, you should definitely come. So now Alex has all the reason in the world to believe that Scott wants her to come to the school dance. Once arriving at the dance, we see that she manages to use her zapping powers on Jerry undetected to keep him from seeing her. Robin feels a little bad because right after this shot, Jerry's face plants into the punch bowl, and the two actually hit it off and end up at the dance together, more or less, for the rest of the episode. Meanwhile, we check in with Barbara and George on their attempt at a date, as we see the first place they attempt to go to is a nightclub which has been taken over by tattooed, pierced young people, and of course they're very uncomfortable by this and are not let into the club. Back at the dance, we once again see that Ray is trying to comfort his best friend by asking her to dance. Alex, of course, at this point is not receptive. Robin also makes her way over to Alex, explaining the aforementioned connection that she now has with Jerry, to which Alex just tells Robin to go on and have a good time. Alex does eventually get Scott to wave at her. She very happily waves back, only to have girlfriend Jessica look back at her in absolute disgust. We see how bored and frustrated all this has made her, as she has a little bit of a smile on her face for building a perfect cup castle. A very saddened Ray notices this and decides to leave dancing with the other girls, sit down and watch what happens to his best friend over the next little while. Jessica then decides to confront Alex because she hasn't left the spot all night. She says that Alex needs to get over it, that Scott is with her. Alex, of course, plays it cool and says that she's overreacting and that she doesn't have any tricks. What tricks is she talking about? And Jessica actually mentions the glowing thing that happens to Alex sometimes when she gets near him, which of course means that her heart rate had gone up too much and she's not always doing a good job of hiding it, which triggers the glowing effect from GC-161. This causes a frustrated Alex to realize that if anything, as far as the dance is concerned, is going to happen tonight with Scott, that she needs to take matters into her own hands. So here we see her subtly utilizing her telekinesis to loosen the ribbon on Jessica's dress. In the meantime, the Mack's second attempt at a date has not gone well either, as when attempting to go in to the local coffee shop for coffee, they are confronted by youngsters who are reading poetry and smoking. This, of course, makes them uncomfortable, causing George to make a suggestion of something that he knows that you're never too old for. Back at the dance, Alex's subtle use of her telekinesis continues on Jessica as her dress tears enough here for her to realize that it's a major problem and she must go into the bathroom to try to correct the issue, and in the process her heel also comes off. In the meantime, we learn that George's suggestion of something you're never too old for was in fact bowling, only to have the Macks learn that tonight is senior citizens night and no one under the age of 60 is permitted to enter. Of course, the actual age is not the issue here. The issue is that they have one more thing go awry for them in their attempt to reconnect on a date that evening. This was something that was a good funny bit, a good funny B story for this episode, but would later lead to a continuity error in a future episode, which I'll get to when we cover it. But I always hate that when writers forget what they have done on a show earlier on that causes continuity issues. I realize that only 5 episodes into a show's run, you're still trying to find your legs and still trying to figure things out. However, you should never write a season 2 or 3 or 4 or however many there are of a show without going back to look at your previous episodes. At least that's a big pet peeve of mine. Let me know if you feel the same way. Alex finally gets her dance with Scott, as you can see her happily looking into his eyes right here. The two have an interesting conversation about what they do outside of seeing each other time to time in the hallways, and Scott tells Alex that she is a very good listener, a better listener than Jessica, which of course just continues to feed into Alex's crush even more. Alex, of course, not wanting her time with Scott to be cut short, utilizes her powers in a funny way here, using her telekinesis to cause the fan to blow into Jessica's face and blow her backwards, very, very funnily, as well as causing the balloons to engulf around her in a very hilarious way. Jessica does eventually make her way back to Scott. Scott, of course, immediately leaves Alex for Jessica because Jessica is his girlfriend, not Alex. Alex begins to become disappointed, only to look down and see the feet of Ray, who in true best friend fashion has never left Alex's side all night, kept close tabs on what was going on with her, and asked for a dance with her, to which she finally realizes that it's important for her to dance with the person who actually has always really been there for her and loves her. The two friends then head outside for some fun as Alex utilizes her zapping powers to zap fun, pretty things into the sky, almost like yellow fireworks. While talking about life, Alex tells Ray that just because you like someone doesn't mean that they're ready to like you back yet, which gives us our life lesson for the episode. Alex then looks over and sees a happy couple and asks Ray if he thinks she'll ever be that happy, to which Ray answers, definitely. The happy couple, unbeknownst to Alex from a distance, is of course George and Barbara, her parents, who finally just decide that they have to make their own happiness and manage to do so by dancing closely together under the street lamp here, and that is the end of the episode. So this was the series' first attempt to not have any real danger for the characters and just show what life would be like as a normal teenager dealing with teenager things while also having superpowers, and also teaching an important lesson about what really matters at that age. So, while not one of my favorite episodes, still a very strong message and a fun little self-contained episode. If you haven't already subscribed, you can do so right now by hitting the round subscribe icon to my left. Check out the Secret World of Alex Mack playlist for any Mack Monday breakdowns you might have missed, and support RazMansReality on Patreon. And as always, this has been your RazMan's Reality Check.